up, everyone, and welcome to the Zero to Success After Show. I am here with my good friend, attorney David Helm of MLS Making Law Simple. And in this after show, I'm going to be asking his thoughts on the TikTok ban, how he avoids drama on YouTube, and a little bit more. So let's jump into it, shall we? Hey up, everyone. I'm your host, Steph the Alternate, and welcome to the Zero to Success After Show with my good friend and guest, attorney David Helm of MLS Making Law Simple. If you want to subscribe to his channel, and of course you do, the link will be in the description bar below. But in this after show, let's have a little bit more fun here and jump into it. And first and foremost, yes, the burning news that's going around social media at the moment is this possible upcoming TikTok ban. I've seen, even Mr. Beast jumping in and being like, I'll buy TikTok so the ban doesn't get enforced, this, that, and the other. I mean, this is getting a little bit ridiculous here, mate. So what are your thoughts on this whole TikTok ban situation?
So I just read the Supreme Court's opinion on this that came out today, and I have to agree with their position to some extent. Now, what the law actually said is basically if you're a content platform and you are sharing your information or potentially could share your information with a adversarial nation, then you're not allowed to operate here in the United States, for lack of a better term. That's what it said, and it's been challenged on First Amendment grounds. It was challenged by TikTok itself, as well as several of the uh, what do you call it? I guess a TikToker challenged by TikTokers as well. And the Supreme Court basically said the national security interest trumps this your whatever potential First Amendment rights that you may have. And the reason being is that they're not attacking the law doesn't attack, I should say, the content, like what is being said, nor the person speaking. And because it's sort of neutral in that regard, it's really just saying you can't talk about these things, or you can't talk about anything on TikTok. The ban was upheld. Interesting, the Supreme Court gave the analogy of a noise ordinance. So if a city wants to say you can't play your radio really loud late at night, uh, that's been upheld as constitutional and doesn't violate the First Amendment, because they're not saying you can't play your radio or you can't play that type of music. They're just saying, if there's reasonable government interest to not have loudspeakers on your roof blasting your neighbors at all hours of the night. And so they equated it that way, that the government can impose some restrictions, and that because there's a national security interest, and because TikTok itself is owned by China, or at least a Chinese company, which is quasi-governmental, and China doesn't have, and this company doesn't have any First Amendment rights themselves, then the ban is upheld.
This is a thing. I look on the front page, the homepage of TikTok, and from what I'm reading, part of this ban is due to this fear of Chinese propaganda being spread via TikTok. But I'm looking at the front page, the home page of TikTok, and you've got babies and stupid pranks and people talking about whatever. And I'm there thinking, okay, where's the Chinese propaganda in all of this? Like, I just really, really don't get it. From an
So
outsider
here's the
looking
thing.
in, I just think this is just all propaganda and scaremongering from the US government.
Okay, so there was a push by Meta, Facebook, to basically ban TikTok. And if you don't know, Meta's biggest competition is in fact TikTok. So there's some reasoning behind that, and I believe it's probably in the justified in thinking like TikTok had some ulterior, or not TikTok, Facebook, Meta had some ulterior motive into pushing this narrative. But at least in the Supreme Court opinion, they go through some of the basic information that TikTok is gathering on its users and how it might be justified in that the US government doesn't want that information getting in the hands of someone who could be a potential enemy like China. And some of this, I'm trying to find it here specifically, but some of it has to do with age, birth date, keystrokes, um, location. Uh, I can't find the particular segment. It's in the opinion of that, but they spell it out. And so it's not just like they're watching the videos like any TikTok user would be watching the videos. There's a lot of actual information in there. What type of phone they have, the messages sent between various TikTokers or people using the app. There's a ton of information outside of just what you see on TikTok that's being collected. And the US government says that it's concerned, although the company says that China has not asked for it. The TikTok has acknowledged that if China asks for it, we have to turn all of this over. So if you look at it from that perspective, there's a potential national security issue. And since that's a potential that is a government interest, potential national security threats in the future and data getting out, the Supreme Court said that that's a legitimate government interest. Now that's important for the analysis of whether or not this is constitutional or not. And since the court went through all this and said it's a legitimate government interest based on the data that's being collected and the potential that that data be shared with a foreign adversary, that the government can do something. And then they went through a whole First Amendment analysis and basically said, you have the right to speak. We're not saying you don't, you just can't on this platform.
All right. Well, let's go from political drama to YouTube drama. How do you largely avoid drama on YouTube and stay away from it? Because it can be quite
Can you?
easy to go into it, really, to be fair.
I was gonna say, can you avoid drama on YouTube?
Well, this is the
It's
thing. I see you as a little bit of a drama-free zone in a way.
I try to be, although people lump me into their stuff.
Mm.
Um, but okay, this is the thing. When it comes to drama, there's no escape from drama except to ignore it. Because if you confront it head on, you're creating more drama. If you deny it, you're creating drama. The only way to escape it in any way, shape, or form, or minimize it, is to just ignore it. Is it really? Because any other thing that you do, you're feeding it. Because if you say something about it, if you deny, if you say, yeah, but what about that? Whatever you do, people are going to feed on it and it's just going to grow. So I personally, I just ignore it.
Fair play. And what was the last YouTube video that you watched?
Oh, what was the? Okay, so I watched a video on how airlines make their money. That was the last video I watched. And
Okay.
surprisingly, it's not through selling airfare. It's not flying people around.
How do they do it then?
They actually lose money with every mile that they transport a passenger. The way they make money is off of the perks for like the frequent flyer and the club memberships and things like that. That's their value. That's every, or at least US airline, uh, the three big US airline carriers. They make their money off of frequent flyer miles, the flyer clubs, the credit cards, and all that stuff. That is their value. That's their entire value. And what's interesting is that the video I actually watched is, are airlines banks was the question that was being posed, and it kind of they are. They're their own banks because they sell these points that are only redeemable through them, and uh, that's how they're valued. That's how they make their money.
And yeah, that is it for this episode of the Zero to Success After Show. Thank you so much to my good friend, attorney David Helm of MLS Making Law Simple for tuning in to today's episode. Please make sure you are subscribed to him. The link will be in the description bar below. Appreciate all your faces. Please make sure on your way out you do subscribe for more episodes on the Zero to Success podcast. And until the next time, you guys, when I get my teeth back in, laters.